For more on the second apparent assassination attempt against former President Trump, we welcome Mike Leon. He's our contributor and the Director of Policy and Strategy at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation. Thanks for coming with us here, Mike. This is just crazy news for the American public to have to absorb right now. Trump says that the Secret Service did a great job protecting him, and even there was the Rick Bradshaw, the Palm Beach County Sheriff, said that they did everything that they should, that agent was doing what he should to do. But why are we talking about this right now? What lessons weren't learned from the first assassination attempt that need to be taken into account?
Hey, Kevin, good morning, first and foremost. Yeah, I mean, good questions all around, right? Because let's be honest for a second. The Secret Service did their job yesterday. This was actually something that they did. I've played golf at that course before, as I was telling Steve last night on NTD's breaking news coverage. And, I've been to that course. I live near the one here in Doral. The layouts are very similar. The security setup is very similar. The entrances and the way it funnels traffic and how you have to go through various steps to get onto the course if you are playing on a tee time on that course. The other part of this is where the whole locations were off of South Congress Avenue. There is some room where people can go through these high shrubs and get to it. But back to your overarching question, right? Like, how did we get here again? Well, the Secret Service did their job in terms of being a whole ahead. But right now, what we need to do is, again, ask for people to lower the political temperature here. We need to get back to having discourse, having acknowledgement of not finger pointing, but figuring out solutions to protect the people that are running for the highest office in the land. I reached out to Representative Mike Kelly yesterday, who's actually going to be on my show, who's leading the task force on the investigation process of this, because I wanted to get some comment from him. And I know they released a statement, said they were monitoring this and the task force is monitoring this. And I'm appreciative of Representative Mike Kelly and Representative Jason Kroll for putting together a bipartisan task force to investigate this, because regardless of political leanings, we should be against this. We should be against this type of political violence and the potential for it to be committed. So it's incumbent upon all of us, Kevin, to really start to look inward and start to lower this political temperature discourse that we're having here in this country.
Yeah, it's just so important that we do that, Mike. And according to authorities, the suspect had an AK-style rifle. He had ceramic tiles to beef up his armor, and he had a GoPro camera, and he even had a scope on his rifle. What does this say about the pre-planning? I mean, the former FBI director, Andrew McCabe, said that this indicates a very high level of pre-planning. How does that complicate the investigation? And what does it say about the intention behind the suspect?
Yeah, I mean, it complicates. Well, the investigation part, I can't speak to. What I can speak to is here in Florida, right? The gun laws here, they've gotten a little bit stringent more, after the Parkland shooting in 2018. But it sounds like this guy, Ryan, was from out of state, from North Carolina. And that's why he was trying to escape back up on 95 North, which is why the highways that you're seeing here were all shut down kind of yesterday. Traffic coming in to the West Palm Beach area off of 95 and then going out, it was very slow moving. But it says a lot, again, these lone wolf actors is very tough for law enforcement to identify. I want to shout out, I know Palm Beach County yesterday when they were giving the press conference were saying that there was somebody in the area that took a picture of the suspect, took a picture of the license plate as the suspect was trying to leave. We need more actors like that, in New York. I'm from New York. If you see something, say something is always the moniker, because it truly does help law enforcement in terms of the investigative process going forward to be able to identify the person, capture the person, and now we can do the deep dive on the person's social media and how they were able to get access to all these weapons, talk to people that he worked with. I know he owned a roofing company, I believe, in North Carolina. He had moved to Hawaii for years. He had donated to the Democratic Party. He supported Tulsi Gabbard. All of these things are going to be found out by law enforcement later on to kind of put together the motive. But it does say something about how easy it is to get access to some of these style weapons and the background checks that we should have on place in terms of having red flag laws and this and that. I don't know if any of this would caught the person because they weren't from Florida, Kevin. But again, lone wolf type actors are very tough for law enforcement to kind of track down. So it's incumbent upon the public. If you see something, say something.
I hear what you're saying, Mike. And, Trump was calling for unity and peace. We could talk about that in a minute. He's saying he's proud to be an American after all this happened, the security that he's been given there. But you live in that vicinity, as you're mentioning, and the Palm Beach County Mayor, Maria Sachs, the mayor of that county, she said that she's really shocked and saddened to hear that this could happen there. And they place a big priority on keeping everyone safe. What's the atmosphere like right there right now in terms of security and emotions?
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of agree with her. Like West Palm Beach is a pretty nice area to live, Kevin. Like where the golf course is. If you've seen the screenshots now of everything that's playing out off of South Congress Avenue and off of 95 there, like it's a very nice area to live. You don't expect something like this. There have been people that have tried to go through the shrubbery to like take photos of it. But as I was mentioning before, and just having played at that course and I've had a tee time before where the president was going to be at that course that day. So I kind of know the way that this works when you're a golfer that's, already at the clubhouse, the security detail to get into the facility itself. It's very secure. You feel like there's almost an extra layer of protection because they know the president will be playing golf there that day. Especially what happened after July 13th, you know that there's going to be heightened measures. So I mean, I agree with the mayor there. Like you just don't expect something like this, especially up in Palm Beach. I know that there was recently something also at his Trump Doral course that happened that kind of caused a little bit of a security, beef and upgrade, but nothing directed at the president. But the fact that these things are happening in these areas and communities, says a lot about, the mood in America right now. And that's why, like I was saying before, Kevin, it's incumbent upon all of us and all of the content that we push out, the tenor and tone that we're striking. We need to get back to this political discourse where we're just disagreeing on how we implement a policy. And then we go back to our corners and we come together in friendship. Like, I think that's the way we have to approach it. That's the way I'm doing it with our show.
Yeah, really wise words from you, Mike. What needs to be done by that bipartisan task force investigating the first assassination attempt? I mean, they got their hands full here.
Yeah, so I mean, I had Representative Glenn Ivey on the program, who's a part of the task force. There's 13 members of it. I believe 7 Republicans and 6 Democrats, led by Jason Crow and Mike Kelly. And I reached out to Mike Kelly to have him on the show and scheduled him this coming week because I wanted to learn more about what the task force mission was. I know they had traveled to Butler, Pennsylvania. They had toured the location with local law enforcement. And now they're going through the process of not only getting all the information from what happened there, but finding out a little bit more of the president's detail, right? There's a new acting director at the Secret Service. What is it that he's getting in terms of coverage? What is it in terms of the events that are upcoming that are potentially going to be outdoor? You saw he recently had an outdoor event that was all bulletproof shield. That also went for Kamala Harris's recent outdoor event where she was protected by bulletproof shield. So the task force is really going to be working in two-step. It's more of looking back at Butler and how do we avoid future butlers? How do we protect all security parameters, within, and I believe this person was within, I believe, 300 or 400 yards in Butler, Pennsylvania. We need to beef it up and extend the perimeter. What are we doing in terms of detail? What are we doing in terms of coverage of events? I think it's going to be looking forward at, beefing up security on the Secret Service front, but also looking months out for future events that are planned out and doing the reconnaissance work on the ground to make sure that those events are secure, that local law enforcement, Secret Service, any of the other federal agencies are in lockstep in terms of resources for those events. So that's going to be the goal of the task force. But the key word in all of it, Kevin, bipartisan, right? Because it's a task force where 6 people don't agree with the political ideology of the former president of the United States, but they realize that his life was in danger on July 13th. It could have been in danger yesterday at the golf course if this person had gotten close. And so we need to figure out solutions to make sure our citizens and the people that are running for the highest office in this land are safe.
Well, absolutely, Mike. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an American issue. And yeah, 300 to 500 yards, apparently that's how far this suspect was. And that's when with the scope, some law enforcement officials are saying that's not a tough shot. And then President Biden is now saying, he's condemning any political violence in all forms. And he's saying that there needs to be more security around former president. He's going to make sure that the Secret Service gets him as much possible security as he can. And I know there was some concerns earlier about, even RFK Jr. getting enough Secret Service. Anyway, what needs to happen right now? Trump's calling for unity and peace. How important is that for our country right now?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, Kevin. I've been very vocal about this. Look, for the former president right now, I get the anger and the resentment in terms of maybe seeing this type of violence play out. Maybe he knows a little bit more about the Secret Service coverage that he's getting and he feels like he's not getting enough. I don't know, but maybe those are part of the reasons why he has potentially lashed out. I think it's incumbent upon him, right? Leadership trickles down, right? It stems from the top. So it's incumbent upon him to say those words, but then go out there and continue those words, especially when he's giving these campaign speeches and rallies. He needs to focus on, look, I want to be president because this is what the Biden administration has failed on. But after that, lowering the temperature, it has to start with him. President Biden has done the same thing and said, as with a statement last night, he gave the 3 press conferences in the aftermath of the Butler shooting, and gave the address, from inside the Oval Office, all saying the same thing. Like, there's no place for this. The person should be allowed to go have their rallies. It's a freedom of speech type of moment. Like, be able to go out there and express your concerns for this country and who you want to vote for in this country. But it all has to stem from the top. Kamala Harris needs to come out as well with a statement, which I'm not sure. I haven't seen it this morning, but I'm going to assume that maybe she has put something out or at the behest of the president. So all of us from the leadership on down need to cool it down right now, because what's happening right now is we're getting more and more lone wolves that are able to get access to this type of weaponry and to potentially fire on the political candidates that are running for the highest office in the land. So I think for former President Trump, a smart thing to do, say, I'm okay. I know he posted something on Truth Social yesterday saying, before all the rumors get out there, I just want you to know that I'm safe and I'm okay. But now that needs to carry over when he's giving these campaign speeches and these stops and rallies. Address this at the encore of it. Just address, what the failures of the Biden administration are, and that we have political disagreements. And then from there, get back to, we don't want violence to be committed on President Biden, on Vice President Harris, or even on myself. And I think those are going to be the words that a lot of people were looking for in the RNC speech, and they got maybe a little bit of at the beginning. And I think he needs to strike more of that tone as he keeps going forward.
Yeah, Mike, definitely. And just to add to what you're saying, some of those reports did come out late last night. Like USA Today, they're quoting Harris, Vice President Harris, saying that she was deeply disturbed by this incident and that she is thankful that former President Trump is safe. Mike Leon, our contributor and the Director of Policy and Strategy at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation, thanks for talking to us about this.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin, for having me.